This is a true story. Welcome back to the Stories Around US channel. In today's episode, we uncover the dramatic tale of the Greens, a seemingly perfect couple whose lives take a shocking turn during a high society party. What started as a glamorous night soon spiraled into a story of betrayal and heartbreak. Stay tuned as we unravel the twists and turns of Hannah and Oliver's unforgettable night. Let me take you back to that night in Willowbrook, New York, a place where people say life moves at a comfortable pace, and secrets are kept behind neatly trimmed hedges. I'm Oliver, and until that night, I thought I had a pretty good handle on life. I had a successful career as an architect, a lovely home, and a wife who I thought was my partner in everything. But the truth has a way of slipping out in the most unexpected ways, and sometimes, it all starts at a party. The Greens, Hannah and I, were known for hosting a good get-together every now and then, but this one wasn't our doing. This one belonged to some friends of ours, the Baileys, who lived a few blocks down. We knew most of the guests, a collection of local business owners, a few lawyers, some old friends, and nothing seemed out of the ordinary. The evening began as usual with drinks, laughter, and conversations about everything from school fundraisers to stock market trends. But somewhere around 10 p.m., when the music slowed down and people had started to settle into smaller groups, that's when things took a strange turn. I noticed Sarah Bailey bringing out this ornate crystal bowl and setting it right in the middle of the coffee table. "All right, everyone," she said, with a mischievous grin, "let's make tonight interesting." I didn't think much of it at first. It's just Sarah being Sarah, always trying to spice things up, right? Wrong. She proceeded to explain that all the married women were supposed to drop their house keys into the bowl, and each man would draw a key to determine who they'd be spending the night with. Yes, you heard that right, spending the night. I could hardly believe what I was hearing. It felt like one of those moments in a movie where the record scratches, and everyone stops what they're doing. My first instinct was to glance over at Hannah, who was standing near the fireplace, drink in hand. She didn't look nearly as shocked as I was. In fact, she seemed amused, even intrigued. "What's this all about?" I asked her as I pulled her aside. "Did you know about this beforehand?" She gave me this half smirk, the kind that told me she was about to say something I wouldn't like. "Yeah, I knew," she replied, almost dismissively. "I thought it could be fun." "We've been married for 12 years, Oliver. It's just one night. Why not shake things up a bit?" "Fun?" I practically choked on the word. "You think letting random people pick keys and, what, go home with someone else for the night, is fun?" You can't be serious. But she was. She was dead serious. Hannah didn't back down. "Come on, Oliver. You've got to admit, our marriage could use a little excitement. I'm not saying we've drifted apart, but it wouldn't hurt to try something different, just this once." There was a glint in her eye, like she was daring me to challenge her, to say no. And I did. I told her that if she went through with it, I wasn't going to stay and watch our relationship turn into some kind of game for other people's amusement. But she wouldn't listen. "If you're so against it, then you don't have to participate," she snapped, "but don't ruin the night for everyone else." Well, that did it for me. I didn't say another word. I just walked right out of the room and into the night, feeling the kind of hurt and betrayal I never thought I'd associate with my wife. I'd never once suspected that she'd want to be involved in something like that. It was as if the person I thought I knew had been replaced by someone else entirely. I drove around aimlessly for a while, trying to process what had just happened. Eventually, I ended up back at our house, but I couldn't bring myself to go inside. Instead, I left a message for Hannah: "If you want to stay and play that game, then don't bother coming home." It was a harsh thing to say, I know. But I wasn't in a forgiving mood. The next morning, I woke up to find a voicemail from Hannah, her voice trembling as she apologized and tried to explain herself. "Oliver, please, it wasn't about wanting to be with anyone else," she said. "I just wanted to feel alive again. To feel desired. her words didn't bring me any comfort. If anything, they felt like an excuse, one that didn't justify what she'd been willing to do. Over the next few days, the fallout from that night continued to ripple through our lives. People talked, of course. In small towns like Willowbrook, news travels fast, and before long, there were rumors about what had really happened at the Bailey's party. Some folks seemed to think I had overreacted, that I should have just let it slide. Others couldn't believe Hannah had even considered participating. The truth is, I was done letting things slide. I found out through an email that Hannah had kept in touch with one of the men from the party, a guy named Eric. Their messages were suggestive enough to make my blood boil. It wasn't just a party anymore, it was a betrayal that had taken root and was now blossoming into something I couldn't ignore. I confronted her, and this time, there was no denying it. Nothing happened, she kept saying, it was just talk. But to me, the intent was enough. I told her that if she didn't respect our marriage enough to protect it, then I had no choice but to protect myself. That was when I started talking to a lawyer, putting together the paperwork to end a marriage that had once seemed so full of promise. I kept our daughters out of it as much as I could, but it wasn't easy. They could tell something was wrong, even if they didn't understand what. All I could do was promise them that I'd always be there, no matter what. Hannah tried to make amends in the weeks that followed. She apologized over and over, promising that nothing had actually happened that night, insisting she'd made a terrible mistake. But I was past the point of believing her words. She had shown me a side of herself that I couldn't unsee, a willingness to jeopardize everything we had for a momentary thrill. I told her it wasn't about one night, it was about the trust she had shattered, the respect she had disregarded. As the legal process moved forward, I found myself facing the reality of shared custody and a future I hadn't planned for. We agreed that I would stay in the house while she found an apartment across town. It was strange, to say the least, watching our life together unravel over something that had seemed like such a small, fleeting choice at the time. In the end, the divorce was finalized quietly, without much fanfare, but the aftermath was anything but quiet. Willowbrook was a small enough place that word of our split spread fast, with plenty of people offering their opinions. Some took my side, saying I'd done the right thing by not compromising my values. Others criticized me for being too rigid, saying I should have given her a second chance. But I knew in my heart that I couldn't live with the what-ifs. What if she had gone through with it? What if this was just the first of many compromises? It was a risk I wasn't willing to take, not for myself, and especially not for our daughters. Now, years later, I still drive by the Bailey's house sometimes, just out of habit, I guess. And whenever I do, I can't help but wonder if things might have turned out differently if that night had never happened. But then again, maybe it was the wake-up call I needed. Sometimes, it takes a moment of chaos to see things clearly, and as painful as it was, I knew that walking away was the only choice I could live with.